Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today I have part 2 of my Clique series reread. I'm kind of reading through them very fast, so this will be part 2. I think I'll do a part 3 just because I don't want to talk about like all of the books like all at once. Like just have part 2 be like the first 2, and then part 1 be the first 2, and then part 2 be like the rest of them, because it'd be kind of silly. So for part 2, I am going to talk about book 3, which is The Revenge of the Wannabes, book 4, which is Invasion of the Boy Snatchers, and book 5, which is The Pretty Committee Strikes Back. And when we left the girls in book 2, Claire and Massey had kind of started becoming friends. It was inevitable that they were going to become friends because they have close quarters with one another. So it just makes sense that they would eventually become used to one another and sort of like each other. And in Revenge of the Wannabes, it's like the girls are turning against one another slightly, which I thought was so interesting when I had first read it, because it feels so relatable, because girls are very finicky creatures. It feels like one minute you're friends with everyone, and the next minute it's like, ew, who are you? Why are you hanging out with us? That's just how it feels to be a girl sometimes. It just is like very roller coastery. And I feel like it's attributed to all the hormones that we are subjected to when we go through puberty and stuff like that, and it's just really not fair sometimes. So the third book is called Revenge of the Wannabes, and it has to do with the contest that had taken place in Best Friends for Never, where the girls had to compete with one another to see who would create the best OCD. That's the name of their school, Octavian Country Day. It's funny that it's OCD. They had a contest to see who would create the best school uniform. Oh my gosh, words are evading me right now. Yeah, so they had a contest to see who would create the best school uniform. And it was interesting because in the end you figure out that Alicia and her friend Olivia had cheated. And it was like, what the heck? What just happened? Like, I can't believe that they cheated. So that was kind of interesting to figure out. And it's also interesting because Massey and the other girls do figure it out, but they don't let Alicia know right away, because Massey has this mentality, and it is very like, I'm going to pretend to be your friend until I can strike, and then you're going down. So she has that mentality. She kind of wants to wait to have revenge on Alicia and Olivia, because she's like, let's let them think they won. Let's make them feel safe, and then we'll pounce on them when they least expect it. And it's very diabolical. Like, Massey is such a complex character for a girl, and she's very like, I love her, but at the same time I hate her. It's just so interesting, the sorts of feelings that Massey provokes in the reader, because I know a lot of people on Goodreads are like, oh my gosh, these girls are so spoiled and silly and vapid. And it's like, what's the point of the book? Hello? So it's like, sometimes I don't know if people, when they're rating things, do they really understand? Like, sometimes that's the point. Like, the point is for the books to be silly and vapid, because sometimes girls can be silly and vapid. And it's a very complex relationship that all these girls have. And it's very like, this is like, when someone says that girlhood is a spectrum, I really think of the clique when they say that, because girlhood is totally a spectrum. It's like you go from one day to being the pretty committee and everyone's friends, and then you go to the next day where it's like, Alicia, you're out, Claire, you're in. That's basically what this book encapsulates, because Claire is finally in with the pretty committee and Massey's finally being nice to her, but it's only because of the expense of Alicia being like the odd one out for this time being. And she tries to start her own clique with Olivia and Strawberry and Corey, and she's trying to create a space for herself to be an alpha, because Alicia is like really jealous of Massey sometimes, and she doesn't like being her second in command. But then Alicia realizes that it's not always a bad thing to be second in command, or second best in this case, or like beta. That's because Massey's the alpha and Alicia is her beta more often than not. And sometimes it's okay to be the beta. You don't have to be the most important, in charge person in the group. And it's kind of stressful, honestly. Like, I wouldn't want to be Massey. Like, Massey's got a lot of stuff going on most of the time. Like, she's very multitasking, a very multitasking girl. Like, she's constantly got a lot of stuff going on in her brain, and it's hard to deal with that all the time. So I don't even know why Alicia's jealous of her, because it's like, seems so silly. But Alicia learns that in the end. So like, the girls humiliate Alicia, and they reverend Claire and stuff like that. So like, Alicia gets told that she's out, and then Claire gets told that she's in. And so Claire is kind of grappling with those feelings of like, well, I'm glad to be in, but I feel really bad for Alicia. And Claire's kind of like the most normal girl in the group, so I can understand where she's coming from. But yeah, so the book kind of goes through like how Alicia goes about trying to be an alpha, and it doesn't really go well. Because she has Olivia as her beta, but Olivia's kind of like an airhead, so she's not really... Some of the stuff she says, it's like, did you really just say that? Like, you're so silly. Like, Olivia's like a silly little puppy. And Alicia loves her for it, and I love her for it. Like, go off. You go off and be a silly puppy, because that's like, it's totally your thing. And so Alicia hires, I guess she kind of does, but she recruits Strawberry, who is sort of like Dylan, who is also a redhead, but she has a really bad temper. And then she recruits Corey, who is also a star athlete, but she has really bad posture. And Alicia is trying to be like Massey in this book, and she's trying to be like, well, I'm the alpha, I'm in charge, Olivia's my beta, and you guys have to do what I say. And it kind of goes not according to plan, like very, very staunchly not according to plan, like whatsoever. And it's just really funny watching the girls' antics and how they like get over it, essentially. Like, they have a big cat fight when they are doing this photo shoot for Vogue, because that was the prize for the contest winners, was a photo shoot with Vogue, and it's supposed to portray like Christmas time. So this book takes place in winter during Christmas, and it's funny because the photo shoot is like a complete disaster, but then Massey spins it to be like, well, why don't we have it portray like the stress of the holidays? Not like the perfectness, but like the yelling, the screaming, the I want to pull your hair out type of stuff that goes on during Christmas time that nobody talks about. So the photo shoot is them having a fight. And it's like really funny. It's super duper funny. Like, I'm laughing out loud reading this again, because it's so hysterical and ridiculous. Like, you can't even believe that it's going on. And then afterwards, all the girls are laughing with one another, and they're like, oh, why were you even fighting in the first place? So they end up becoming friends again in the end of that book. And it's just really funny. I love Revenge of the Wannabes. It's always the third book, or the third in anything, that's my favorite. So that one's definitely my favorite book. And then we go to book 4. And book 4 is very interesting and dramatic and intriguing, because Invasion of the Boy Snatchers has to deal with Alicia's cousin, and her name is Nina. And Nina is like a year older than these girls. So she's like 13 or 14. And she's like exuding this sensuality, which is really weird for a 13 or 14-year-old. Like, she feels older, but she's not. She's just a little kid. But she's exuding this sensuality that you find confusing as a reader. I find it confusing, especially at reading it as an adult. Because I'm like, oh, girl, why are you acting like that? Like, it's not the way you act. That's not the way to act. Like, that's definitely, I would never let a child of that age act the way Nina does, because she talks about a lot of unsavory things. And I think she's a very bad influence on the girls. But none of the girls really like her, so I don't think she's a super bad. I think she's more of a bad influence on the boys. Because Nina, per the title, is like boy snatching left and right. Like, she tells the boys not to talk to any of their crushes because there's a secret soccer magic from Spain. And the boys fall for it because they're boys and they're silly. And that's just what silly boys do. They fall for silly things. And the girls are like super upset about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, none of the crushes are talking to us. And it's like overwhelming to them. And they try and take Nina down. And they do. They do, in a really funny way. Because Nina, before she exuded this sensuality and like these risque clothes and stuff, she was like this big nerd, like with acne all over her face, and she wore like these huge Coke bottle glasses and like was not fashionable whatsoever. And she wore like the weirdest things. I don't even know what example to give. But she was just someone who was super dorky, like a before picture in a makeover of something of sorts like that. So the girls kind of put together this prank at the dance that they're going to at the end of the book, where Nina's like showing off her dance moves and dancing with the boys and like making moves on everyone. And all these pictures come raining down showing her before look. And it's just really funny. Like, these books, Lizzie Harrison should be a comedian because these books are hilarious. It's ridiculous how funny they are. Like, that's why I just gotta give it 5 stars for the messiness of it, because it's just really hilarious to see these girls acting like this. And to see them just constantly trying to band together to take someone down. And like they're going through friendships, like they're trading CDs and like who's their friend today, who's their friend tomorrow, stuff like that. It's just funny to see them all band together to take Nina down, because Nina, she needed to be taken down because she was really crazy. I was like, no girl, you don't need to be acting like this. You're like 14. You need to chill out. Like, when I was 14, I was still playing with dolls. Like, clearly. I've not grown out of that, obviously. It's just interesting to see how people act. And, like, to see what girls go through. So they take Nina down. And she moves back to Spain. And she realizes that, oh, this isn't worth it. And she was only visiting, so it wasn't a big deal anyway. It was just it was a funny, intriguing side story of the Clique. Because her sisters realized she was stealing their clothes, and that's why Nina started to look so sensual, because she was stealing her older sister's clothing, which makes sense now that you're thinking about it. But yeah, so the book ends with, and poor Claire. Claire's always going through it. It's either Claire or Massey who are just going through the ringer with this series. So Claire ends up kissing someone other than Cam. And Cam and Claire are like the big couple in this book. They're the ones who are always together. I love Cam and Claire. They're very sweet. They're like silly little puppy dogs with one another. And they're so cute. Like Cam and Claire forever. They're adorable. But yeah, so Claire ends up kissing someone else, and Cam finds out, and he's upset, obviously. So the book ends with her kissing Josh, I think. And Josh and Alicia like each other. Or Alicia likes Josh. I don't think Josh likes Alicia yet. But yeah, so it ends on that. And then the 5th book starts off with Claire being super upset that oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? The fifth book starts off with Claire upset that Cam is upset, which he has every reason to be upset. She was kissing someone else. Why wouldn't he be upset? I think it's silly that she's upset that he's upset because clearly there's a very reasonable explanation for him to be upset. So that fifth book is like trying to get Cam and Claire back together, and Massey is trying to figure out how to tell her crush that she likes him, and her crush is Derek Harrington, but she lovingly calls him Darrington because it sounds like a soap opera. And that's basically what these books are, is a soap opera for teenagers, which is very funny. So yeah, it's basically like Degrassi. If anybody really remembers Degrassi, that's like a big throwback. But so yeah, the fifth book, it starts with Claire being upset and blah blah blah. And then the girls and the boys, they all go camping together on a school field trip. And Massey's trying to tell Darrington that she likes him and she wants to kiss him or something. And she's like, I've never kissed a boy, I don't know what to do. She's so confused about it. And Claire gives her advice for once, which I thought was interesting. So it's kind of cool to see Claire and Massey team up again and to have this common denominator together where they're like, let's not vie against each other. Let's band together and figure this out. So they start like a kissing clinic at the campsite where they're gone for like 3 days. And it's really, this book's funny. All these books are funny. Like, if anything, if you want to read these books, just read them for the giggles, man, because they're hilarious. These books are like top tier comedy, in my opinion. So they learn how to kiss, and Darrington and Massey kiss in the end, and then, because Massey is like super embarrassed that she's never kissed anyone, but she's like only 12 or 13, so it makes sense she hasn't, but she's embarrassed about it regardless. And then everybody finds out that she's never kissed anyone, and she's like really embarrassed, so she has to figure out a way to make them believe her, and she does, obviously, because she's Massey. And she's like this diabolical diva who does everything, basically. And so it's funny to see her get her reputation back and whatnot. And then, in the shocker of all shockers, they get expelled. Like, the fifth book, they get expelled. And it's like, wow, earth-shattering. When I first read that, I was like, oh, they got expelled? How the heck did they get expelled? But, so they get expelled because on the camping trip, they go off the beaten path and they get lost, and it's really scary. And the reason they get lost is because they have to go find Dylan, because Dylan, the part where she's going through it is her mom is starting to date her teacher, and she's really upset about it because her mom is like a chaperone on this trip, so she starts to date the teacher and get really comfy cozy with him, and it's kind of icky. And I would be upset too if I was Dylan. So she like runs off into the woods. And in true Pretty Committee fashion, the girls follow her and they get lost. And they don't get found until like very late at night. And Mr. Minor, that's the name of the teacher that is getting all comfy cozy with Dylan's mom. And he's like, you girls, you went off by yourselves, blah, blah, blah. We were very scared. We were upset. And you're expelled. And that's how the book ends. Like, it literally ends with, like, the last line being like, wow, we're expelled. What? And that's, like, the cliffhanger to end all cliffhangers, because you're wondering, how is this gonna work out in the rest of the books? Well, spoiler alert, they get back into school during the sixth book. And it's really interesting. The sixth book is super interesting, but I will leave that for a different day and a different video, because I have talked about 3, 4, and 5. So next time, I will talk about 6, 7, and 8. So I will leave that as a cliffhanger in my own video, like how do the girls get back in school? But I'm sure most of you have read The Clique. It's been out forever, so I'd be surprised if people hadn't read it, but you never know. But I would recommend reading it regardless, because no matter how old you are, The Clique is so funny. And it's just interesting to see girls acting like silly girls and seeing boys act like silly boys. It's just good clean fun, in my opinion. It's good clean fun. And it's lighthearted, so if you need something lighthearted, I'd pick up a Lissy Harrison book, because she's a comedian. But yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for more content. Please check out my Instagram, at Elise's Mystical Bookshelf. Please check out my Goodreads, also Elise's Mystical Bookshelf. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends.